So welcome to this River Publishers book discussion. I'm Philippa Jefferies and I have with me Bozzuto, author of the new edition of the Boiler Operator's Handbook. He has extensive experience in the power industry and the various related technologies. I'm very pleased to have him here with me today to discuss the book, which aims to help operators in improved operability and performance of their boilers as well as their plants. Carl, thank you for joining me today. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. So I guess start then. So the first chapter starts by kind of admitting that there are many boiler handbooks kind of out there which look at the plant and the equipment, but that this one really gets into the operation of the boiler. I was wondering if you could start by talking about the kind of importance that this kind of book has and its focus for boiler operators in particular.
Right. The whole idea is it's not just know how, but know why.
Yeah.
When I was working full time, we had licensed companies around the world, and one of the keys to our licensing success was we not only trained them with our design standards and procedures, but to explain why you did certain things the way we recommended it in this particular case. In the book, we talk about things that a boiler operator should do, but also why the operator should do them. So that is sort of the theme throughout the book.
Okay, and something I think particularly interesting. So at the moment there is this ever-growing drive towards more sustainable energy practices, reducing carbon emissions, that kind of thing, especially with the climate kind of catastrophe we find ourselves in at the moment. How do or can boilers and boiler operators play into this aim for a more sustainable future?
Regardless of how you look at it, we're going to need boilers for quite some time.
Okay.
I mean, we're not going to tear down every office building and tear out every boiler in existence immediately. So what do you do in the meantime? Well, efficiency is the lowest cost way to reduce carbon emissions and improve sustainability. So throughout the book, we talk about things you could do to improve efficiency. And it's not just the boiler efficiency. I mean, we spend a whole chapter talking about the facility and looking at the facility and seeing what might be done in terms of understanding the steam demand, the load on the boilers, and how we might operate everything in a more efficient manner. So it's beyond, what valves do you open and close and what buttons do you push, and more about the impact of the various things you could do. Refrigeration, how do you account for people coming in and out of a building, for example? I mean, there's a lot of office buildings that have boilers.
Yeah. And are those things that kind of you learn about very much your experience running a boiler and within a facility?
Yeah. I think one of the things today that we have an advantage is when I started, you measured very little.
Okay.
The cost of measurements and making measurements was rather high. In the last 50 years, the costs of sensors, the costs of computers, and monitoring systems have come way, way down.
All right. Okay.
And so you're able to do things that you weren't able to do before. And we do talk in the book and cover the need for good data and using that data to understand your plant. The other improvement that we've seen is data analytics. So, there are firms now that can come out to your plant and hook up a computer and a software system and analyze your last 2 years worth of data.
Yeah.
And tell you where you're where you're losing efficiency and where you can make improvements to gain an efficiency.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
And nowadays, especially, there's a lot more kind of automation within industrial plants, within facilities. What are your thoughts on kind of that when it comes to monitoring boilers or just the facility in general and looking at these kind of efficiencies?
Yeah, the controls automation, again, that pulls the data analysis, if you will, together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that allows the boiler operator a little bit more time to focus on activities that could help improve the operation. Those types of improvements allow the boiler operator a little more scope than, as I say, just twitching the knobs and
Mm-hmm.
punching the buttons. You don't have to be quite so chained, to the used to be a board, but now the computer screen in front of you.
Okay, so would you say that the role of the boiler operator or the operator in general is kind of developing now to include different skills, a different skill set?
Yes, again, let's say in the utility industry,
Mm-hmm.
again, when I started, a 25-year veteran was a low timer.
Okay.
They used to walk 2 paces behind the guys with 35 and 40 years experience. And experience was required and was, to a certain extent, revered.
Yeah.
When I did my clean combustion technologies book for Alstom, and we did what we used to call like a lunch and learn. We went out to various utilities, gave away the book, and lots of times they had their training classes sit in for the presentation. They said, well, the average span for our operators is now about 8 years. With that kind of turnover, there's a need for something to pass on the experience that we gained. But okay, through the book, we hoped to pass on some of that type of information, experience, values, etc. The other thing that we point out in the book, something that was done 40 or 50 years ago and maybe had a good reason then, maybe that reason has changed. And it's important for the operator to understand, again, the why. Why did we do it this way? Why is the stack temperature 300 or 350 or, why do we need an air heater? Well, there was a reason for that. Now, whether it may not have changed over the years, or maybe it has. As we fire more natural gas, the flue gas is cleaner, and it's possible to operate with a lower exit gas temperature leaving the system. When we were firing coal or oil, we were worried about corroding all the ductwork because the gases weren't as clean as what we get with natural gas. So, that's why the temperature of the stack was higher. Yeah, okay, I get it now. Again, gets back to that know why.
Okay, so the why is as important as the how.
Yep, very much so.
Well, it's possibly a good place to end. Thank you so much for joining me, Carl. It's been interesting, and yeah, congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.